So now I'm being joined by Mo from Amusa. Mo, thank you so much for talking to me today and coming on to chat with us all things data and cloud.
Yes.
So let's start off by talking about the cloud journey that people are going on. Now, a lot of people might be starting off. Last year, the last 2 years, we saw such a huge acceleration.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies either progressed far, but they might have fallen back as well. So talk to me about the journey that people should be on and what they should be paying attention to.
Yeah. I think right at this point, there's no question that like everybody's moving to the cloud, right?
Yeah.
You can talk to any like Global 2000 company, and you hear basically the same words, right? We are on the journey, we are moving to the cloud,
Yes.
right? We are doing it. I think now it's mostly about, well, how can we do it in an efficient way? How can we do it in a scalable way? And how can we do it securely?
Yeah.
And then the other topic I heard a lot at the conference, but then also in conversations with customers is, well, how can we do it right across the world and deal with those local jurisdictions and regulations, right?
Yes.
Because although you are in the cloud, right, and it's easy to spin up an instance or a database at the other end of the world, you still have to adhere to local regulations, which is quite challenging.
Very challenging because obviously, as you say, if you've got data in Europe and the UK and then you've got America with all of their different laws going on, it can be challenging to keep track. So how can they? What's the best approach to that to make sure that they're not violating any laws when they cross data across borders?
Yeah, I think it's definitely hard, right? And every company tries to do it slightly differently. What we have seen work really well is if people think ahead and try to think through, okay, how can we build something that scales? Our approach in terms of the processes, the technology, the people involved, and also the policies and the governance. But then how can we also do something that allows us to leverage the data, right? Because it's easy to say, well, if you work for a certain company in a certain region or country, you simply can't access data, right? That's collected in a different country, in different jurisdiction, right? That's easy to say, right? There's this binary choice. But unfortunately, if you do that, right, you don't really get the value out of the data. So when I talk to companies, right, and talk about this journey, I always try to remind them, well, there's a reason why you are on this journey, right? You're moving to the cloud because you think it will help you save money, right, and reduce cost. You think you can move faster, get more value out of the data, generate more revenue at the end of the day, right? So let's not forget that, right? Because it's easy to lock things down, nobody can access anything, right? So I think you have to be really smart about what you do and how you make sure that you don't forget what was the original reason, right, why you embarked on the journey.
Yeah, and I think that happens quite a bit. You lose sight and you want to build fast, but you're not putting that plan in place. So from you, when you're having these conversations, what are the main pain points that you kind of hear over and over again that people can avoid?
Yeah, so I think it's really centered around two different problems. The first problem is how can we do it at scale in this new world, right? How can we make sure that if we use multiple data stores across the world, right, we might acquire other companies, right, and then we get other systems. Like how do we make sure that we really build a solution where we can grant access and prevent access to data across the board in a scalable manner without having to spend lots of money, hire dedicated people, but really have a solution that scales across the board. So that's the first one. And the other one is how can we really speed up access to data, right? Going back to what we just discussed, right? We're moving to the cloud because we want to leverage data in a better way, right? Build those models, get those insights. So let's not forget about that. Make sure that your analysts, the practitioners, the people who need the data can really get the data and get all the data they need, right? And yes, there is sensitive data, right? There's certain data they can't access, but let's really figure out and leverage technology, right? That is where Muda helps, right? Leverage technology so that you give access to exactly the right amount of data versus doing this binary approach that is often happening currently where it's like you either have access or you don't have access, right? There's a lot in between where you might get access to a subset of the data or let's say you have a social security number or a credit card number, right? Maybe you need the last 4 digits. And things like that are possible now, but it's different in this new world than in the old world, so you have to educate people that...
Very true. Everyone has to adapt and see how it goes forward. So
the old approach doesn't work in the new world.
Exactly. So final question then, when we're talking about obviously sending that data and sensitive information like your banking details and everything like that, the security element of that should be front of mind for a lot of organizations. Sometimes it isn't,
Yes.
but it's a hard thing to overcome because there's a lot
Yes.
going on and there's a lot of risks out there. So,
Yeah.
what's your approach to that? How do you view how that's growing at the moment and what needs to change?
Yeah, I mean, my approach recommendation is, right, think ahead, but it's easier said than done, right? So I think what we see is this pendulum, right? There are companies that aren't thinking ahead enough, right? And then maybe there is a breach, right? Or maybe they aren't breached, but a company in their industry is breached, right? And then everybody suddenly wakes up, and then the pendulum swings in the other direction, and it's like, okay, everything has to be highly secure, everything has to be locked down, right?
Yeah.
And that's then not good. So I think it's really about finding that balance, right? How can you be secure but still unlock business value?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're really secure, right? But you can't get value out of your data, and then you don't grow, you go out of business, right? Your competitors are performing better. So thinking ahead and making sure the pendulum, right, stays in the middle and you don't overcorrect randomly to one side or the other side, right?
Yeah.
Where you are then either getting into security issues or you can't leverage and get value out of the data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's strong advice, Plan ahead, make sure that there is that plan in place and you'll be sorted. Hopefully. Hopefully the pendulum goes a two-way, exactly. Mo,
do it well.
Exactly. Mo, thank you for talking to me and giving your insights. It's been
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.